Hi, everybody. This is Jean McDonald, and this is Transition Tip Tuesday. Well, today's transition tip isn't sexy. It's not really the funnest tip. It's talking about preparing for one of the biggest transitions you'll go through, and that transition is the death of a loved one. Now, when my parents were planners. I think part of it were because they were from the Depression era and they learned that they needed to plan for tragedy. But my parents made sure that us three kids always knew how to handle things if something happened to both of them. They had all their documents in place. They had us co-signed on bank accounts when we were over 18. I was um, run through the finances and where everything was at least once every couple years to make sure that when things changed, I was aware of them. And what my parents did, and this was in my newsletter last night, my emailing, is that my parents made sure that we knew who was in charge of things. And obviously, I have an older brother, oldest brother, and a very responsible person. So my parents said, look, if something happens to us, you're going to be in charge, and we'll make sure everybody knows that. Well, when my brother um, married and had his own family, his own child, and also he was now committed to taking care of his wife's parents and his wife's elderly aunt. So he switched his role from being head of our family, if a tragedy happened, to being the head of his own family and his wife's family. And so my parents switched everything over to me. I was co signed on the safe deposit box. And when my dad passed away, I had the freer schedule, so I could leave my job for 3 months and take care of her during that time, which I did. And then we set up a revocable trust for her so that when she passed away, things would be easier for us to deal with. And that's my tip for today is by planning, because this is going to happen. We don't want to think about it. We don't even. I have friends that um, don't have wills. That it's like a morbid topic, or they feel like, well, oh my gosh, if we talk about this or kind of put that energy out, it's going to make it happen. Well, what you want to make happen is if you really love your family, you want to make sure that they're taken care of when you pass away. And to do that, you need to make sure you've got the legal documents, the power of attorneys, the healthcare directives in place, so that even if the person doesn't die, if they're incapacitated, someone needs to be able to step in and take care of things. The second thing is to let the families know, communicate with the family who's in charge, who's doing what, who's going to take care of things, and how it's going to be handled. Because when you're grieving, you go through a sudden loss. You're grieving, you're going through the loss yourself. And the people, the person or people in charge of handling all this financial stuff have to be able to take care of that as easily as possible because you've got a lot of emotion going on. I'm going to try to share briefly. This is a big topic and I'll talk about it more, but I want to share briefly when my husband passed away. We had a lot of documents and everything in place, but there was one unforeseen issue that occurred that was very difficult, and that was somehow the date of his death, it was July 1st. Well, instead of putting a 7, someone read that 7 as a 1. And all of a sudden, the federal government thought he had passed away on January 1st, not July 1st. And that put a hold on all his pension money. It put a hold on any savings that they could directly access. They put a hold on. So all of a sudden, all this money was tied up. And it took me months of early morning phone calls because I live on the West Coast, so I have to call the East Coast. So I have to get up at like 3 or 4 in the morning to call the phone number to get in queue to hopefully talk to someone that day. And so it was very traumatic. So you want to make this transition for your family as smoothly as possible. And you do this by communicating to them who's in charge, what's going to happen, and you have to kind of assume like that you and your spouse may go at the same time. If you're in a car accident and both of you are killed, a lot of this will fall on your kids or whoever is in charge. And then there's issues that if you don't have family in charge, that you want to, your friends want to step in, that's even more difficult. And I'll talk about that at a later time. But having documents in place, doing as much as you can to prepare for that transition, because no matter what, I hate to say this, but we're all going to pass away. And so we're our kids, our families are going to have to deal with it, our friends. So we want to make sure, if we love them and we want to care for them, to get these documents in place. So that's my tip for today, is be prepared. I feel like a Girl Scout, be prepared. But we want to do that because we love the people in our lives. So that's it for today. Go to jeanmcdonald.com to get more information on what I do as far as coaching, as far as we're going to do a caregiver support group this week, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And that's for anyone, even if you're not a caregiver yet. Once again, being prepared. Pop in and it's just an open discussion. I'll talk a little bit about how to navigate being a new caregiver, but then it's just a question answer type of thing. So um, you can find the information on that in by contacting me to get a link. It's online, and just have a great week. We're enjoying warm weather this week in the Pacific Northwest, but have a great week and think about those that you love and how you can help them with your big transition. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.